Hello, everyone. Welcome to part 59 of my story. So, I want to rewind a little bit for you guys. When I was first incarcerated and sent over to FMC Cars for a camp in Fort Worth, Texas, I was in an A&O room. That was my first room. I was in this room when I first got there with one other person that came over with me doing transit, and then eventually two other people will accompany us in this room. And the reason I want to rewind on this is because I know this is something that people need to know. While I was, this lady was an addict and she was big and pregnant. At this time, I want to say 7 months pregnant. She looked to be no more than maybe 25 or 26 years old. She told me this was like her seventh baby. And so I was in fear for this lady. Reason being is because as a mother, our maternal instinct is that we do want to be with our children and we want to protect them. But I could not figure out how could you be in prison and be pregnant and what's going to be the outcome of when you do deliver this baby. Questions that I did not ask at that time. I eventually befriended this first young lady and she started telling me her life story. And so basically she had a history of using substance. The criminal justice system does not discriminate. There is very limited resources for you when you're pregnant. This lady had lost mostly all her kids to the system. Of course, she said when she delivered this baby, she would hand it over to the child's father. So I wanted to know, how does that process go? So apparently when you're incarcerated in federal prison, there's a community resource center, if I may call it that, called the MINT program. And so I guess when you go over to the MINT program, basically it's a time for you to prepare for delivering this baby. Also, it's a bonding process after delivering a baby to transition this child over from you to the other parent and or foster care. And that has been a reality for so many women incarcerated. There was no one there to pick up that baby. Eventually another young lady comes over. This second young lady, she's very young. I believe this is like her fifth baby. She said the one before that she delivered was stillborn. Reason she delivered this baby stillborn is because she had a major substance problem. She used various substances during her pregnancy with that baby, and ultimately she said when she had no veins left to use, she started injecting into her belly. Ultimately, she delivers a stillborn baby and she becomes pregnant again. This lady also major addict. Sentence, I can't remember what it was, but it was a sentence to where she would not be able to watch this child grow up in the early years. But she took a shower in a room one day. She comes out and she just says this, and I never thought of any of this stuff. This was all new to me because I was very green in the system. She cut herself while she was in the restroom. She comes out and she say, "Hey, I just want to let y'all know I cut myself in the restroom. Y'all might see a little blood. I tried to clean it up the best that I could, but I would like to let y'all know that I do have Hep C." So I was like, in my mind, hepatitis C? Oh my God, and she's pregnant, you know? And I didn't want to ask the question of how she um, became infected with this because in my head, I already knew. Multiple women would come to prison while I was there expecting babies. Sadly, at that time, when you delivered a baby while you were incarcerated, you delivered that baby in shackles. There was no laws to protect you after delivering a baby or before, because you were an inmate or offender. You were shackled while you gave birth. I remember at some point during my incarceration, I met a young lady named Christina Munoz. She was very quiet and she had been incarcerated for some time. She was convicted on drawing a map and she received 20 years in a drug conspiracy that was related to marijuana. This poor mother had twin daughters and had delivered another baby while she was incarcerated. She delivered this baby in shackles. Her story rang bells loudly because of the nature of her being incarcerated and having to be shackled while she delivered this baby. Something that I believe should have never happened. However, it did happen, and afterwards, Miss Munoz did receive clemency on his sentence due to Alice Johnson. receiving clemency because Kim Kardashian went down and urged President Trump to give Alice Johnson clemency. And Alice remembered some women who were at FMC Carswell who were incarcerated with her. And she spoke these names into existence with then President Trump. He eventually pardoned, I want to say 5 of these females, and Miss Munoz was one of these females. And that's why advocacy is so important. And also, right now, I want to make this known. I have mentioned President Trump name in the last few of my videos a couple of times because at that time of my incarceration, he passed some very important legislation that will impact criminal justice reform for the years to come. However, I want you to know, personally, I do not and am not a supporter of President Trump. I am with her.